Welcome to Countercurrents. This is your host, Petey Steele, with my co-hostess,
Elena Torres. Thanks so much for listening. This is another Zoom pandemic episode, and today our guest is our very good friend, DC's wonderful, one of the best comics. Please welcome Ross Benoit.
Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going?
Good. Looking swift. And are you wearing that hat to like throw us off the trail or what?
I'm just really playing into being 30 now. I'm just adapting dad look as much as I can. I'm not using condoms anymore. Just if a kid comes, it comes, you know.
I like it.
Nope.
When did you turn 30?
I turned 30 right before the pandemic started. Literally, I turned 30 March 17th, and the world shut down. Everyone's like, hey, man, your 30s are like different. But I'm like, man, I didn't know it was going to be this different.
Yeah. Birthday you'll never forget.
Yeah, it was real nice. I drank with roommates. It was good. It was a good way to celebrate.
Yep. I feel like turning 30, I don't know, my 30th birthday was fun, but I didn't have like some huge rager. I don't know. I feel like
I was sober 5 years by then, so it was kind of like anticlimactic. And that's how most of my birthdays have been since then.
Yeah. Well, I don't even like celebrating birthdays in like a big grandiose style. I've never, I guess I didn't grow up with that. So now to me, it's just like, I get like anxiety when it's, which is weird because I love being on stage and love being the center of attention.
Mm-hmm.
But that's real attention, like 300 people watching you on a stage for 5 minutes versus like, oh yeah, somebody's friend of a mutual friend's boyfriend shows up, takes a couple shots, shakes your hand, and just fucking pukes somewhere,
Yeah. Well, that's a comedy show in general. That is a comedy.
It's true. It actually is very similar attention.
Yeah.
That at a comedy show. I don't know. I love big birthday parties and we had a really big wedding, and I love all that stuff because I also feel like when it's your party, you don't have to talk to people that much. Like everyone's still looking at you, but everyone's like, oh, hi, how are you? But it's like, it's my party. I'm super busy. So you only talk to people until it gets boring, which is usually
I heard it. Sorry, the lag is like I heard at weddings though, it can be everybody's trying to talk to you and can be like overwhelming.
It's definitely overwhelming. I would say for mine, I had FOMO for my own wedding because all these people, because we did a destination thing. So everyone in my life that I cared about from all these different areas of your life, like you have your high school friends, your college friends, all came to this wedding, and you can't really hang out with everybody. So like I have a bunch of friends that have stories from our wedding, and it was like I wasn't even there.
Oh my! I would think they'd all want some FaceTime if they paid like $1,000,
Yeah, but that's all they get is like FaceTime, and you kind of talk to them. Oh, thanks so much for coming. And maybe you dance for like half a song, but you're not sitting and eating dinner with them. And we did this weekend.
How many people were at your wedding?
300.
Jesus.
Which in Mexico is considered like super small and intimate.
Yeah. That's like a cartel raid.
Yeah. That's very true. Yeah.
But a lot of people like went to the beach and had a great time, and I couldn't go because I was like getting the party ready or whatever the day before. Like I just missed out on a ton of stuff on my own wedding. Right?
Hey.
Yeah, I heard it's not like fun getting married.
I mean, there are parts of it that are fun, but if you're not into like doing a lot of, it's kind of like organizing a comedy show.
Yeah.
You know how you have to produce a comedy show and you're on it, and you like it in concept, but it's a ton of work.
I mean, like out of the 300 people, how many of them did you feel were like bringers?
150.
I appreciate your candor.
Everybody's in a couple. But anyway, speaking of comedy shows, Ross, I'm curious.
Yeah.
You were producing a show and then you had to move it because it's illegal in DC to do comedy now. Did the law change? What happened?
Well, so it's it's like what's interesting about right now, what's going on like with Corona comedy is what it's been like dimed. It's like nobody really knows the facts 100%. It's really word of mouth. Everybody's calling everybody, like checking like what can't we do. So eventually it's just gotten put into the category of like live music. So all live music events and stuff like that are banned in DC right now, which is, I get they're not like focusing on like, well, we got to let the comedians do comedy. Like they don't really give a shit. But it is like just weird because it's like the bar I'm going to do it at, or the venue, it's like a venue/bar. The people are going to be in there regardless, whether if one person is on a stage with a microphone, half capacity, all that jazz. But for that, like, the mayor's office is sending out emails. Eventbrite sent me an email saying like, hey, this was shut down by the city. So I had to move it to Arlington.
Oh,
but it's also it's also like the conscious thing too of like, hosting events that right now people would be going inside for, is that necessarily morally correct? I don't think it's the biggest issue in the world if people are being safe. And I've been at the venue for a show and it's safe. People are safe. But if something was to happen, like if there was an outbreak at a show that I was running, like the last thing you want as a comedian, when people Google your name, is you in the headlines being local comedian causes outbreak. Like it's just, that's like worst case scenario. But yeah, it's weird. I mean, it's just nobody knows what's going on. Everybody's trying to figure out where the lines are drawn, what we can get away with, what we can't.
Right.
And what's safe.
Yeah. So maybe some of us have done outdoor shows in DC recently, maybe. And if maybe those people did that, that's illegal too. And
see, I mean, like,
it's outside. Is it illegal too? Or does it?
Nobody really knows.
Yeah.
So we had a live show outside in our backyard at Triangle House in DC 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, and I was at Draft House with Jolis and Sarah, and the cops came, but it was for a noise complaint, and it was at 10 o'clock. They came at 10 o'clock on the dot, and they didn't say it was a gathering. They didn't say anything like this is illegal. They said, hey, we got a noise complaint. You got to keep it down after 10. If we come back, we're gonna have to arrest somebody. So it wasn't the gathering. It was just that we were going past 10.
Did you feel that was legit, or did you feel that was more of like a feint where they just tell them, all right, like, go bust a tail light and be like, oh, that's a fine right there or something?
Yeah. I don't know. Like, at first there was some like skepticism of like, are they just saying that so they can shut us down? But I don't understand why they would lie. Well, I don't understand why they wouldn't just be like, hey, you can't do this right now. We're shutting you down for that reason. Right. Like, why would they make up a noise complaint? Yeah. And they came right at 10. So.
Right.
Maybe
so
noise
again.
You know what I think it was? The source of noise is a lot more audible when everybody else is inside and you're like the one house having the fucking party.
Yeah, and once again, I live in the city, and our backyard is an alley that's shared with another set of row homes. And I'm sure the speakers were facing direct. They were just getting blasted with people yelling like "come" and "fuck." You know what I mean? Like, so I'm sure they were just like they're like, "Dude, please, no more."
Yeah. Oh boy.
So we're doing it again this weekend, but we're starting at 8, so we'll be done by 10.
Nice.
We're gonna break them.
Yeah, way to go. I'm surprised though, because I don't know. I guess around like that week, you remember how for 2 weeks before 4th of July there were like crazy fireworks every night?
Yeah.
Well, because I'm that mom, I had a baby, and it was just like every single night, and I wasn't sleeping, and I called, and I called and made a noise. I called the police, and I was like, dude, there's these fireworks. Like, it's been every day nonstop, and they basically were like, sorry, bro.
Yeah.
They didn't care. Like they didn't care. So I was like, maybe that's the attitude of 2020 police. But that's when it comes to comedy, not.
They were like, hey, cool, we're gonna leave the riots and come handle that right now.
Yeah, they gave zero shits.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, that's also been DC police forever. You know, That's how they are. But it's
guns in the air on New Year's Eve. They're not arresting any of them. So.
Oh really?
Yeah,
I don't know anything. It's actually the only time I've ever called the police in my whole life. Maybe it's
you just had a kid though. I would do it too. I mean, like that's completely understandable.
Yeah, so I didn't know. I haven't lived in DC that long, so I didn't know that they don't respond, but they just didn't give a shit. But for comedy at 10 p.m. on the dot, fuck you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, which is fine. I mean, I honestly should have looked into it more. I had, it's like, I don't know if you guys want to go into it, but what's very interesting right now is people's like mentality about life in general, because it's, really nobody knows what tomorrow is going to bring. And we're at such a breaking point that like the end of the world could come tomorrow and nobody would be surprised. So everybody is in a very chaotic mind state, and like things are just different. Like people are living more like today's their last day, and more people are also shut in like they've never been shut in before. It's just like a crazy mix of personalities and types right now, especially living in a city and seeing it firsthand. It's like, it's crazy. And doing comedy during all this is wild.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels like secret communist meetings.
Yeah, it's like the prohibition.
Right, yeah, exactly. Like
I did a show in I don't want to say where in the city, but I did a show last night where I literally had to go down an alley and knock on a door 3 times to get into the show. I'm on the show. Like that's where we're at right now with comedy.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way if I was doing comedy, but I don't know. I'm not saying if I am or if I'm not. But that's definitely what it feels like.
I'm not really even doing it like that now,
Yeah. Which is smart. I'm being dumb. Like I'm being not smart about it. But a lot of comics are. I would say a fourth of the community is out, maybe, if that.
They miss it, and I get that. I signed on to do one on Sunday, and I was told about it Saturday, and I was like, oh, that'll be fun. It's an outdoor thing. And then I thought about it, and I was like, the last couple things that they've done, I haven't seen people like breaking apart,
Yeah.
Lives of people throwing footballs and shit. Not saying
I was one of them.
And, I'm like, I can't risk this. But then again, I also feel like every day is a goddamn adventure, too. I get to see people I haven't seen in a long time, but just kind of like on a one-on-one mass basis. I work from home. I don't like commute anymore. I save all this money. It's just, it's a blast. I don't know. I'm cool with working home forever.
Well, I think this is going to change too. It shows that a lot of jobs it's showing people that, the office mentality going into an office is, that's going to be dead after this. It's showing that people can work just as efficiently, if not more efficiently, from home on their own time. The 9 to 5 mentality is going to go away. What's bad though is like, it's great for people who have jobs that you can do that with, but it's people who don't have the jobs they can do that with, where this is getting like very crazy. And come November, when everything shuts down. So right now, restaurants, all these places, they can do patios, they can do outside work. But when it comes to the winter and they can't do that anymore, those patios are keeping a lot of most bars and restaurants afloat. So when that time comes and they can't do that anymore, at what point are people going to start saying, fuck you to the curfew, to the half capacity thing? We need to stay open. November's, and we're going to have an election in November. It is going to be, I'm getting done.
For some more fireworks.
Yeah, that's actually one of the reasons that I may or may not have started doing comedy. If I were to be doing comedy, maybe one of the reasons I would have been doing comedy is because, like, who knows what's going to happen in the winter? This might be some of the only time that we can. And if there's, I don't know, I'm no scientist. I don't know, but when do you most often get sick? For me, I always always get sick in January or February. I never get sick in July or August. This thing is totally unforeseen, right? But usually when shit spreads like that, it happens in the winter.
Right.
So, like, if there's a second wave, I imagine that it would be that, kind of like what's been happening in California. Like, if it happened here, I feel like as soon as the weather changed and like, what can we do about shows at that time? Oh no, it's my dog.
That's not the baby.
Yeah, that's yeah. But so that's why I may have decided. Yeah, that's why I may have decided to start doing comedy again. Here, you guys talk. Let me quiet here. Okay, it's done.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like, I can't imagine starting out doing comedy at this time. Like, what would it be like?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad I have a little bit of stature to where a break like this is like whatever. I can come back and things will be whatever, given, provided that they will be the same ever again. I don't know. I'm thinking 2 years at least before things get to like normal again.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even as normal as in the fact that you could have an even close to full room normal, but comedy in general too. So having this break was kind of a blessing in disguise. You know what I mean? Like, I was definitely burning the candle at both ends. Like, I was definitely like, you know what I mean? It was like a good break, I guess, just to take away from everything. But at the same time, and writing too, like, because I didn't stop writing. I was writing a lot. I wasn't performing. So I was really focusing on, all I could do was just focus on how to write a joke. So coming back and doing comedy now, the first thing that has been very interesting is how to address the crowd. You know what I mean? Like, what do you say? What do you talk about? And I had to learn the hard way. You can't say the words pandemic and corona too much. You can talk about it. And I that's most of my set now. What I've been doing is talking about it, but it's more of like everyday life in it, little things that we have to deal with. You know what I mean? You can't, I've seen comics go up and be like, so what's up? You guys think corona's going to kill us? And the audience is like, dude, I don't want to be here. Why the fuck are you talking about that? So it's like it's very interesting. It's very temperamental.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's true. It takes them out of it. I may
100%.
have done a show where I wore, because if I were to do comedy, I would be doing it in like a full hazmat suit.
Yeah.
And I may have done a show where I did it, with the gloves and mask on, but the audience, it was outside and it was in Virginia. So the audience didn't have masks on, but they were really spaced apart.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't laugh at anything I said, because I could tell I was the only comedian on the show that wore a mask and had gloves on.
Yeah.
And it was like hot outside and there was a lot of space and they were clearly like super weirded out. And it took them out of it. It was like, okay, if she doesn't feel safe, then does that mean I'm not safe? Does that mean she's sick? Like, what, you know what I mean? I could see the wheels turning, and it was not good.
Yeah, one of the first
dude, if you just gone up to the mic in that suit and just like fake cough, that would have been amazing.
Oh, dude, that would be that'd be the end of the show. One of my first spots back up, I went back up and I was like, the first thing I said, I was so nervous. The first thing out of my mouth, I was like, well, it's crazy that we're all here right now. And they're like, yeah, now it is, dude. Now it's weird that we're all here. Thanks for bringing that up. So it's interesting now. It's like, it's having to tiptoe around it, but yet make jokes about it, because to me, it's crazy as a comedian to go up and to not address it. Now, I understand everybody has different styles, and like, there's definitely the approach of like, well, people are here to forget, but I'm like, I can't not talk about it. But you talk light about it. It's like going to the grocery store, the shit we have to see at the grocery store during all this,
right?
Like passing somebody on the street, little things that are just everybody's dealing with day to day that they feel comfortable laughing at.
Right. And you said, you talked about a little bit about like people's mentality through this whole thing. Like, are you going inside? Are you going outside more? Like, when did you make the choice where you were like, I have to do comedy as much as I can? I can't take, like, what drove you there?
The minute I got offered it. The minute it came, the minute I had a chance to do it where I did, which I'm not saying to clarify, I am being very not smart or safe. I'm being as safe as I can at these venues.
Right.
but to me, it's like, you know, and it's annoying to, and I don't think anybody's putting it this way, but for some people to be like, well, if you're not doing it now, then you're not really trying. It's like, no, that's not the case. That's so stupid. And like, I don't think anybody's saying that, but I could definitely see that mentality arising at one point. Like, no, that's not the case. So I'm just an impulsive person, who just, you know what I mean? I just have to, I have to do it. And it's not a smart move. It's not a smart move. And here's what's crazy about it too. It's like, I mean, this is also for now. So it's like, what's the point? Like, we're able to get away with doing these outdoor shows and some, you know, at undisclosed locations in the city. How long is that going to last?
Yeah.
I mean, come when it, you know, if we do get a second wave, like, was this all for nothing? Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
You know, it's just, nobody knows. Nobody has an answer to anything. And it's just really like, I don't feel it's, I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep going on about this. But,
no, fine.
Yeah, it's, to me, it's like, I'm at this point, it's like not trying to get ahead of anybody or to be like, well, I'm going to be ready to go when anything. It's like, I just love doing comedy like so much that it's like, it really is just, one of the like things that makes me happy. So it's just like, it's just opportunities for me to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what it is. I mean, it's like, I'm not necessarily working to like get better right now. It's just having fun, but that fun is putting me and many others at risk. So it's great.
We're going to need you to like, give us all your locations and your phone number for some contact tracing.
Oh, yeah. I actually have a contact tracer that just follows me around now. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good setup.
Yeah,
they make me pay him though. It's weird.
But you do, I mean, it is true. Like, you do have to think about your mental health to some degree in all this, which I don't know. Personally, that's, if I were to do comedy, that's the choice I made, which is just like,
yeah,
you know, you can be inside for how long and you end up making yourself sick in one way. Just be as careful as you can. And if it's illegal, then, you know, that's for a reason. So,
and most shows,
that's illegal.
Yeah,
which,
and most, exactly. Don't do anything illegal. And most shows I've been at have been safe. A lot of, I mean, switching microphones, sanitizing. Like, there's one or two you'll run into that are that won't be doing that. That you have to bring it upon yourself. Okay, am I going to go up to this mic or am I going to say something? There was one mic I was at where I was like, hey man, you need to be sanitized. I'm not going to go up if everybody's using that microphone. And you just, you know, you got to lay down the line. You know, some people will tell you fuck off, but if you do, I've been doing shows in like Fredericksburg and shit. That's how far I've been going to do this.
Wow.
And they never quarantined. They never got hit. Like, in that thing, the world didn't, they have a very slow moving world, but it never stopped.
Right. Interesting.
And, so it's, you know, it's, the cities are like the big hot spots. Like, I'm going up to New York next week to do a show, which is
so in Fredericksburg, the pollutant could be Ross Benoit.
No, there was a few other DC comics there, but
okay.
So when you told the producer of whatever show that was to spray down the mics, how did he respond?
For this specific one, it kind of looked at me crazy. But this was also a place that they never had to quarantine. I'm not going to say the specific location or where. So they looked at me crazy, and he was just like, yeah, I guess I can do that. So he did it, but it was still like, you just have to police. You can't just, as long as you have to police it yourself, you know?
Right.
But I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it.
Nor do I.
If you can podcast and write from home, I recommend you do that 100%.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think there's that, but I mean, yes, like there's definitely probably some that aren't safe, but from what I've seen and heard, everything's pretty safe. I mean,
90%, 95% of them have been, if anything, like overkill, which is what you'd rather see. Right.
Like, I think, I mean, if I were to be doing comedy, I went the extra mile just because of the whole baby thing. But for the most part, I think the outside ones are pretty safe. If you're an audience member and you want to go to comedy and you're wondering, like, they're pretty social distanced and everybody's pretty far apart from.
Now, what about Ross? Are you working during this thing at all?
Felt. No, that's a great question. I am. So I'll give a quick backstory if people don't know. For 6 years of comedy, I left a good job to do comedy when I was very young, and like a year in, I took the plunge early, which to this day, I don't know if it was a good idea. So I waited tables all that time. And for 6 years of my life, I've been like red line broke. I've been very, very broke for 6 years. And I went on unemployment when all this started, because the restaurant, you know, they're not most restaurants aren't operating. And I've made more money during this time, saved more money. I'm like financially secure. Like I'm like I'm like Googling how to invest. Like it's like, yeah, it's you know, at first I was terrified. I've never been on unemployment before. I've never even thought of applying for unemployment.
Right.
But you know, honestly, like it's shitty, but like, yeah, I'm gonna stay on it until I can. You know what I mean?
Right.
No, good for you. I hear these things, and it sounds to me like just a meme or a Republican talking point, but I'm glad to see that actually works, because I know people need it out there, and it's fucked up.
Yeah.
You just lose a job, especially if you're like a career waiter, you know?
Yeah.
What's the alternative?
Yeah, and I feel bad. Like, I wouldn't say, like, you know, I was part-time too, which could have had a lot to do with it. But like some of the people I worked with who were career waiters and bartenders, like right now, everybody's doing okay because the government is still giving them money. But there's going to come a time where that money is going to run out. When does this bubble pop? When does everything implode? That's when we're going to start seeing a housing crisis. We're going to start seeing an eviction crisis. I mean, for how long can you just keep pushing back the end dates to everything? So like, I mean, for me right now, I'm hoarding everything I get because I don't know how long. I mean, it's already been more than I could have like, imagined, but it's like, be smart with it, put it away, because you don't know when you're going to have to live off that for like 2 years, you know?
Totally. And then, you know, like you say, it dries up. I have like a, you know, firearm and booby trap fund for those days.
Yeah. But not working, I'll tell you this, has been very, during the pandemic, it was rough. Like when it first started, it was crazy to me because I was so from the minute I woke up to the minute I stopped, I was go. And that's what I was used to. So when that all stopped, it was like, it was horrifying. I was like the worst feeling in the world. But not working now during the summer. I mean, I feel like I'm a kid on summer vacation. That's how I feel. You know, the sun's out. I'm walking to the grocery store. I'm like calling friends I haven't talked to in a long time. You know, writing. I mean, it's like, it's fun now, but I'm ready for things to go back to normal. I'm ready to go back to work. I'm ready to start getting denied by Comedy Central again.
Right.
That's what I'm ready for.
Did you like waiting tables before the pandemic, or did it take the pandemic for you to be like, I love my job?
I hated every day I'd walk into that job and I the first thing that comes out of my mouth is like, I have to make comedy work. I have to. It's a good push to make it happen. But it's also too now, like, I don't even know if I'm going to go back to that restaurant, because if comedy could not really come back for, Pete, you said 2 years. Like I might as well. Yeah. And I think about the same. Come back regularly, at least to the point where you're doing spots every night. Mm-hmm. Like I might as well just get work a job that pays well during that time. You know what I mean? It's like, it's so much is up in the air. Who knows? And like, I talked to a lot of New York comics, and they're in the same boat because, you know, a lot of New York comics were dog walkers and baristas during the day and shit.
Right.
If you have a college degree, if you have an opportunity to get some kind of a career thing that you can telework at, it's really glorious. Like, I've never liked my coworkers this fucking much than when I'm working from home. You know, you get away from any of the bad apples at your job, the negative energy. I mean, teleworking is essentially like charter schools for adults. You know, you just get on the guys that are sniffing glue out and say adios there, Jimbo. And now it's time for Petey Steele to log on and be uber productive. It's great.
Yeah. I have a degree in biology that I've never used once in my life. So we'll see what I could, I think that allows me to like cut grass. I think at this point, that's like the starting point.
Degree in biology. I didn't know that you were a science.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, what do you have to do to get a degree in biology?
So this of a degree. You pretty much after freshman year. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
You guys can hear me? All right, cool. What do you have to? What was your question?
No, I said I didn't know that you were a science guy.
Oh yeah, I mean I wouldn't say I am. The school that I went to was not a very good school, not a very good college. I went there to play lacrosse. It was a private D3. I mean, I was submitting papers I wrote in high school, like my junior year of college. Like that's if that like applies to anything.
Was this Guilford?
No, Guilford was right down the street.
Okay.
Guilford was like 10 minutes away. We were down Main Ave.
Universe. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Guilford
was like weird.
What do your lacrosse friends think about you being a comedian now?
I mean, I don't know. They're like, all right, man, whatever. It's like, I mean, it's just like what my old friends from high school think. Like, it's a very interesting. I don't know if you guys like run into this, but it's like nobody takes it seriously until you're on TV.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Until you have at least a Lennon or not Lennon, like a Conan appearance. It's just kind of like a pretend. You're pretending pretty much until then.
I don't know.
Until that time, it's just very like.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I kind of agree, but I also think like having grown up in this area, there's plenty of people that'll be like the first year I started, nobody took it seriously, including my own family. And my mom didn't come to anything for like the first 2 years, and she's very supportive, very kind. But I didn't even go out of my way because I wasn't taking it as serious as I wanted. I didn't think it was any future in it. And then when I started getting booked places and people would see me on Facebook and be like, oh, wow, you did the improv and shit like that.
Yeah.
Then people took it a little more serious. The conversation between like one Thanksgiving into like 3 would go be like, oh, yeah, first one, it's like, you still doing that comedy thing? Then like 3 years, 3 years, they're like, how's comedy? Like, what's going on, man? This is great.
Yeah, for me it was around 4 or 5 years. I'm 6 years in, around like the 4th or 5th year where you're kind of like it's no longer for a long time. It's a hobby, you know what I mean? It's a hobby. It's something. But around 4 or 5 years in, when you start, you're in pictures with successful comedians. Your friends are starting to make moves. Like that's when people start to see like, oh, this is for real, and you can tell in your Instagram that you're progressing. The crowds are getting bigger, but it's also like too like, which I don't hold against people at all. Comedy, entertainment, bands, anything like music, it's out of so many people's world of a possibility that like, I mean, if you're an accountant or you work on Capitol Hill and that's your world, like seeing someone do comedy or something, it's like, oh yeah, cool. Like, it's cool. Nobody to my face says quit, so
right. No, I asked because my husband is, as you know, used to play college lacrosse, and like all his like lacrosse and real estate friends think I'm an alien. Like I tell them, he loves to tell everybody that I do comedy, and they're like, what? And I guess coming from LA and Mexico City are both really big entertainment cities, so like no one cares. But here, I feel like you tell someone that you do anything in the arts, and they're like, "Really?"
Yeah.
And there's like a sort of like, "How do you make money?" Sort of like look, they don't say it, but they kind of look at you in that way.
And you look at them and you go, "It's easy. You don't.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like, would I have seen what kind of, like everybody's really confused. Whereas like in Mexico City or LA, people are like, oh, cool, you don't make any money, and people just sort of
Yeah, exactly. And I think like that's why I very much desire to go, New York over LA, but New York and LA, to be around more people where it's more accepted, there's more industry, you're not such an alien. But DC has a beautiful art scene too, and that's something that's constantly overlooked, that DC is a great art scene. We have a great music scene. But it's just it's obviously in the shadow of Capitol Hill.
Yeah.
We also have the White House right down the street, so that makes sense. That
right.
Yeah.
But you know what? We've talked about this a lot on this podcast. The sort of like here in New York or LA, since part of like I kind of did like the reverse. But I will tell you, like, at least with my acting career, like going from a smaller, being a big fish in a smaller market makes a huge difference than like starting from scratch in LA.
Oh, absolutely.
Like from an acting perspective, like I didn't get any cool meetings until I started doing stuff in Mexico. Like when I was just like in LA as an actress, like no agent would meet with me. And then once I started doing stuff in Mexico, they would meet with me, and then they were like, you're too white, no thanks. But I got the meeting is the point.
Yeah. There's not a day that goes by that I'm not thankful that I started in DC. Like hands down.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think it's one of the best places to start comedy, because also you have access to so many different audiences. With the Maryland, Virginia, you have so many different like there are parts of Virginia shows that I've done where I'm like, people were like missing teeth. It's like that part of America, like the middle that you hear about, and it's like 30 minutes away. Petey's
and you learn
bucks. Hey.
I know. They don't know. They don't know any better. It's so funny too. Like some of the best gigs I've ever had have been for like music venues that are used to paying like full bands, like $5,000 to open up. And then they're like, well, we can get this comedian for like $400 to just bomb. You're like, we got a low budget this month. Let's just get this guy who talks about wiping shit on his hands. He'll do it. Like,
no,
I'll take it. I don't care.
Give me all the breweries,
Yeah. It's also too like at what point, like which I will do any show that's offered. Like I'm a whore when it comes to that. I take any bit of stage time I get. But I also try to focus on too, like, I want to stay sharp, and I want to go up in front of like crowds that the industry wants to see you do well in front of, if that makes sense. Like there's definitely a certain type of crowd when you're going to be going up in front of agents and stuff at clubs. And like, I just try as hard as I can to stay sharp in front of those types of audience. But some of the most fun shows you ever have is for like a yacht club out in, McLean, Virginia.
Fuck yeah.
This is their one night out, their kids are at home. I've had people come up to me, they're drunk, but they're like crying, like, you're the funniest person I've ever met. It's like a mom, it feels good. I'm not going to say no.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah. Like
somebody
sold their soul 30 years ago for like the white picket fence, coming up and like fawning over you is glorious, kind of,
Yeah, and it's also too like everybody in cities in general, everybody's cool. It's if you ever get a hey man, it's a real sly like, hey man, I thought you were funny. It's a real, like at my level at least, that's how it is. But you go out to these other areas, like they have nobody's too cool. Everybody's like, you made my night. Thank you so much. That was excellent. And that's like the best feeling you can get in comedy, is people telling you like, but here, it's not cool to congratulate others on their success.
Right. You're in competition with everyone at all times. Yeah,
which is so funny too. Like I've also not wanted to, and I think I talked to you, Elena, about this when you did my podcast, is I'm trying not to focus on how happy I've been not doing comedy.
Right.
Like how little anxiety I have. I'm not anxious, but I do miss like just the feeling of it all. I would take it back in a heartbeat, of course, obviously. How do you guys feel? How you guys been?
I miss the shit out of it. I won't lie, but at the same time, very much respect all the benefits of such a break. They're innumerable. And it lets me know really what a sacrifice comedy was, even with not doing it every single night and having a day job and doing all that shit. I just feel like there was always this kind of constant pressure of like, even if you're not chasing the brass ring as like obviously as everybody else and you're not giving up as much, you're still dedicating a whole lot of amount of time that maybe you could be living a normal life with. I haven't been living a normal life in a really long time. So yeah, but I miss it. I do.
See, I feel like since, I mean, especially, I mean, it's pretty obvious at this point that I've started doing shows again. Like, I realized that I actually like need stand-up to survive. Like, I can't not do, like, I need it to, especially now that I have a kid. Like, it's so easy. Because like all I do is entertainment, right? Like my day job is I write scripts for a company in Mexico, and obviously like that got pretty fucked up by all this too. It's kind of coming back, but whatever. But I'm at home all the time, and it's so easy when you have a kid just to make that, when you're a mom, just to make that your whole life and the whole definition of yourself. And as soon as I started doing comedy, I was like, oh my God, I have a whole life before this baby, and I'm not just this like mom all the time, you know, in these like t-shirts with my hair up, like with spit up on my shoulder. Like I need comedy to survive. Like that's why I was like, mom. Oh my God, Josh.
Is that Josh?
Yeah.
What's up, Josh?
The biggest comedy fan. He was like, he just left, but he was like listening in the corner.
When are we buying that club, Josh?
He just walked out.
he heard club. He's like, I'm out of here. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, he just wanted to scream something and just walked out. But yeah, I don't know. I need comedy to survive. Like I mean, if anything, like having it go away and come back. Not that I wasn't serious about it before, but now I'm like, I think I'm more serious now than I ever have been. And to a point where like I came back after my first show and I was like, I told Josh, I was like, look, dude, social engagements, as soon as the world like kind of normalizes, I'm just not doing them at all. Unless it's like some work that you need me to come with. Like it's you, it's the baby, and it's comedy for me, and that's it. Like, you know?
Yeah. It's true. The biggest thing that hit me too during quarantine is like, I knew how much comedy was like a part of my life and how much I needed it, but to really have it sink in on how much I depended on it for like, I don't want to say an identity, you know what I mean? But definitely as a source of happiness and creative outlet. I mean, like, as crazy as it is what we do, it maintained, for me at least, my sanity. Yeah. Which is not good. That's not good that I rely on it too. But I just miss, like, I'm also a tool at heart. Like, I'm like a big tool, and comedy keeps that at bay. So when I'm not around comedy, I start becoming a tool again, and I started to see signs of it, and I got scared.
Please tell us about the signs.
I just flexing in the mirror more, just how I would talk, like just not, just like I was willing to fight more. I haven't done that since 24. Like no, I wasn't trying to fight, but yeah, I just definitely see. It's good to be around comedy. It keeps it at bay.
Dude, if you're fighting during COVID, you don't give a
fuck. Yeah. How'd you get COVID? I beat the shit out of this dude. Kicked his ass.
And then
oh my God, you have COVID? Yeah, but I fucking won, dude. Loser doesn't get it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how that works.
The other guy. That's hilarious.
I miss the hang though too. I miss hanging around comedians. I mean, comedians in my book are the most fun people to be around, hands down. I love being around comedians. I love talking to comics, and that was another big bummer too. Was just because I enjoyed pretty much everybody. There's like two people that I really dislike in the comedy scene here.
That's it.
Yeah. There's two people that. There's two people.
You're a good person.
Well, I've also like talked to most. I've also like. I've interviewed like 100 people for my podcast, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I've had like intimate conversations with most of the comedy scene. Yeah, there's only like 2 people that I could care less about, but the rest I love everybody, and I really enjoyed just seeing everybody at all times. Yeah.
Wow.
So I miss a good hang.
Wow.
Yeah, I do too.
I mean, I think you are one of the most generally well-liked comics. I think you don't hear a lot of people behind your back talking shit about you. I think you're one of the most
that's good.
if not the most well-liked comic in DC. So it's nice to hear that it's
cool. I appreciate that. There's two that I know would disagree, but
I love how they're specific.
So it's mutual, huh?
There's various. Well, we'll talk later. We'll go off.
Oh yeah, definitely. When this is done, I want to hear both those names.
I will talk off.
Yeah.
But they're irrelevant. Don't matter. So.
Right. No, they're definitely there. I definitely have more than 2 people.
Oh, me too.
I'm just like, ugh.
Well, look, you're not doing if you're doing something right if someone hates you. You know what I mean?
That's right. I guess so.
Like if everybody likes you, you're probably a sociopath and like kill people and hide them in your basement. It's good to have like 1 or 2 people that want your downfall.
Right.
Maybe more.
That's true. Or it means that people just aren't noticing you. So it's better to have some people that hate you.
Hey, yeah, and that's very true.
Especially if you're doing this. And I will say, like for people in the scene I don't like, I think actually every single one except for one person I think is bad at comedy and taking up room. And that's most of the reason.
Yeah.
There's only one person who's actually good at comedy that I don't like their personality. But other than that, it's all like competitive comedy stuff. At the end of the day, it's not like a personality thing.
Oh yeah, it's 100. I mean, it's 100%. Like once again, I can't say enough. And I just respect comedians, and I respect the art of comedy, and anybody who's willing to do this and get good at it, or just do it in general and support it. Like I can't not like you.
Right.
You know, I mean, I think it's such a great thing that we do, and it's such an important thing that we do. That if you're involved in any way, you can't be that bad of a person. But you can be.
Yes, you can.
There's a few that can be.
I think it was Tim Dillon who said he's the only guy at the Comedy Store who's not getting arrested this year. You can definitely be great at comedy.
Yeah. But it's also too like comedy attracts such unique minded people and like such crazy people. And that's one of the best parts of it. It's like normal people become boring, not out of like, it's not, I hate saying that too because it sounds like malicious when I say that, but it's like really not. It's just like, no, you don't understand. We're surrounded by the most insane people every night.
Yes.
Acting at level 10, like you telling me about what jeans you got the other day, I can't really give a shit. You know what I mean? Like it's tough for me to tune in.
Yeah. I also think that like probably a lot of comedians, like the way we show affection is making fun of people.
Oh
and
yeah.
A lot of people outside comedy don't take that well, but inside comedy, not only they take that well, but they give it back. Like I love when comedian friends make fun of me because it's like, oh my God, that's a great joke. And I love that I'm the center of the joke.
Yeah. Tell me if you guys have had this during the quarantine. You know what I mean? I have a lot of friends who live in Arlington that I grew up with, and like our parents know each other. You know, it's like a close, you know, old friends. And we did this big crab boil thing one day, and I was out there, and I hadn't really seen people. I have all these I'm ready to go. I'm at 100. And I show up, and within 10 minutes, I'm like, I'm blaring about Twitter. I'm blaring about the politics. I'm just going off and off. And at one point, I look around, and everybody's just staring at me. And like one of my buddies leans in, and he's like, "Hey, man, I don't think this is really the time for that." I'm like, "Oh yeah, you guys don't like check Twitter every morning first thing when you wake up. Like it's just a different world, you know?"
Yeah.
It's a nice world. It's a peaceful world they live in.
I don't know, because most people, when I tell them I do this or whatever, they know I do this. It's so gonzo to them that they ask me a million fucking questions, because they're tired too of talking about the same stupid shit, even though that's all they have to bring to the table. You know, that's the thing. I hate my wife. That bitch never talks about anything but Tupperware. It's like, well, what are you telling her about? You know, it's like, oh, we got, you know, roots to work. What? Like, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like also.
It's so funny though. Comedy.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No. You go. I was.
No, I was just gonna say that also. I feel like when yeah, you no, I just feel like when I'm like, because most of the time now when I hang out with people, because all my good friends pre-comedy, because I started comedy when I moved to DC, don't live in Washington DC, and so the only time I ever hang out with regular people in Washington DC is I'm like a +1 to my husband. So I'm always like in those situations because I don't know anybody. I'm always like quieter.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm never like funny. So when people are like, "Oh, she does comedy," you're like wife who's sitting there and smiling and agreeing all the time. Like people are always very surprised that I don't have like a comedy personality. We're in comedy, like, quiet and weird. Everyone's like, you know, that's fine. You're probably funny.
Yeah. No, because we know each other. And we know, and that's 100% a problem I run into sometimes. It's like, is people like, you'll say stuff like you'll say stuff sometimes around people you don't really know. They know you're a comic, and you'll just say something like seriously, and they'll like laugh, and it's like, no, I'm not doing a joke right now. I think we should get rid of Trump. I think he's a bad guy. Like, but there's like times too where, there's like people think you're supposed to be on all the time because you're this comic. It's like not the case at all. And we as comics, we get it out. If anything, we are less funny around people because we get it out of our system every night. You know what I mean? I don't feel a need to make these 8 friends, or like my girlfriend's friends, laugh. Like I made a room of 200 people laugh last night. I don't need to make you guys laugh.
You should have bought a ticket, bitch.
Yeah, and that's one thing. It's so nice to be around comics because everybody knows that comics, that there's no pressure to be funny because nobody's trying, you know?
Yeah.
Like I'll tell you right now, like I can't stop talking about this because Joe List, one of my favorite comics, one of the all-time greats, love the guy. You know, to be able to hang with him that weekend and to have like a real like good talks was just like truly amazing. And I don't know if that would have happened if it wasn't for the pandemic. Not to say it was all worth it, but you know, like for the hours of conversation that we had, we weren't like cracking jokes. We're not trying to be fun. You know, it's like, it was like just a normal conversation because there's no pressure there to be funny, you know?
Right.
You learn how to be a normal person. It's nice. It's just like very nice.
So how was that? Because you opened for Joe List and Sarah at the first opening weekend at Arlington.
Yeah. It was great to be in a professional atmosphere and to get like a taste of comedy again, to like really work a weekend, to do 4 shows back to back like that. By the 4th show, I felt back. I felt like I'd never left. You know, it was such a good, by the 4th show, I felt dialed in. And then that drive home was so bittersweet because driving home, I'm like, well, that's it. I don't know when the next time that's going to be. You know what I mean? It's very bittersweet. It's like a weird feeling to have, to get a little bit of taste of this thing that you love so much. And I mean, to be with Joe and Sarah too, and also to be able to talk to them about everything that's going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Joe just released a special on YouTube during all this. And the reason, and it's killing, it's getting millions of views. But the reason you do that is to sell tickets.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, well, I can't sell tickets now. You know what I mean? Just to hear that perspective from such an accomplished comedian, you know, it really was a cool opportunity. But once again, I mean, who knows when anything like that's going to happen. Then it's back to performing in backyards and with people in lawn chairs. Yeah. But we are lucky too.
Go ahead.
We don't have anything like, I mean, I've seen, like, you guys have seen the pictures of people performing in front of cars in New York. Tim Dillon had a great line where he was like, I don't feel a need to be doing comedy. He's like, people in New York are performing in parks and on the back of pickup trucks. It's because those people are clinically insane.
Yeah.
He's like, he's not wrong. But I think also too, which is interesting, like DC is out of like New York. I mean, LA comedy is not happening in LA right now.
No.
Comedy's
people
just
are moving left and right.
Yeah. There's a big exodus happening in cities. New York, it's happening, but it's still just, I mean, man, New York is into such pandemonium. It's hard to really organize anything that's like official. You know what I mean? The clubs that are operating, they're doing shows on their sidewalk, and that's very, very difficult to do a show on a sidewalk in New York when nobody's working. You know what I mean? Like DC's been done a, honestly, like people are hitting me up about being like, hey, what's up with the DC shows? I hear they're good. You know what Martin's doing, what Crybaby's doing. I mean, it's just crazy right now. We're just lucky we live in a place or around a place that we have the room and the resources to even be performing in front of the crowds that we are right now, and spreading the shit out of it.
Well, we're gonna leave on that note of positivity. Ross, thanks so much for doing the podcast.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you guys for having me. I always appreciate it. So
yeah, we love having you on. And it's nice to get your thoughts on all this craziness. And I may or may not see you in a backyard soon.
Yeah, you got anything to plug? Any like door passwords or anything?
Yeah. If you go to the corner of 18th and U, it's 3 knocks, and then you got to ask the hobo. No, I've check out my podcast, Smiley Frown, on iTunes. Follow me on Instagram. We also have a backyard show done by Crybaby at our location in Columbia Heights. It is legal. Check out Crybaby to get details on that. Besides that, just stay safe and listen to my shit.
Woo!
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for doing it. Bye, everybody.
Peace. Yeah, thanks, guys.